We definitely have people with good attitudes. For whatever reason, we've been very blessed in the fact that the people that are hired at this bank are kind of expected to be nice to each other. And we have a lot of customers that walk in and just say that they came in and they loved the fact that they could tell that we truly were happy.
And I believe that Commissioner Sims will give the invocation today.
If you would bow with me, please. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day. What a wonderful, beautiful day in Amarillo, Texas. Lord, we thank you for this community. We thank you for our first responders that serve this city so well. Lord, we ask for your guidance as we make decisions affecting this wonderful city. And let us remember that by your grace and through the Lord Jesus Christ, we have the lives that we have. Thank you for all of our many blessings. Ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the privilege of reading a proclamation, several today. If you all would have a seat, we'll come down.
Is Miss Barbara Latham here? Come on up. All you come up. And all your representatives, I've got a little proclamation to read to you. How are you? Welcome. Whereas our founding fathers, in order to secure the blessings of liberty for themselves and their posterity, did ordain and establish a Constitution for the United States of America. And whereas it is of the greatest importance that all citizens fully understand the provisions and principles contained in the Constitution in order to support it, preserve it, and defend it against encroachment. And whereas the 224th anniversary of the signing of the Constitution provides a historic opportunity for all Americans to learn about and recall achievements of our founders and to reflect on the rights and privileges of citizenship as well as its attendant responsibilities. And whereas the independence guaranteed to the American people by the Constitution should be celebrated by appropriate ceremonies and activities during Constitution Week, September 17th through 22nd, as designated by proclamation of the President of the United States of America in accordance with Public Law 915. Now, therefore, we mayors and commissioners of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th and 22nd as Constitution Week in Amarillo, and the Arredondo DAR chapter urges all citizens to pay special attention during this week to our federal Constitution and the advantages of American citizenship. There are other DAR chapters involved in this effort as well. There's the Esther McCrory DAR chapter. There is the Llano Estacado DAR chapter. There is the, there's more, chapter. The John Alden Society DAR chapter. And the Caldera Society chapter. I'm going to ask you, if you would, to make a little statement and introduce your friends here with us today, or they can introduce themselves. And let's hear what's going on this week for Constitution Week.
As he said, I'm Barbara Latham. It is an honor, Mayor.
There's a camera, and you can look at television.
Mayor Harpo and City Commissioners, it is an honor to accept these proclamations for the hereditary organizations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come forward and introduce yourself in what chapter?
Donna Otto.
With Esther McCrory, chapter DAR.
I'm Sharon Jelinek, Llano Estacado DAR. Thank you. I'm Miriam Gemmersfelder, Region of Arredondo chapter, and I just want to say, on September 17, 1787, 39 brave men signed the document that give you and me our freedoms and makes this country what it is.
I simply want to say happy birthday, America.
Mr. Mayor, point of personal privilege for a proclamation.
Certainly.
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure what this is about, but
This is voter registration in spirit of constitutionalism and amended. If anyone's not registered to vote that needs one of these.
and what's the cutoff date for registration for the general election?
The 9th.
October 9th. Thank you, sir.
Registered.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission, held this day on the third floor of City Hall at 3 p.m. The first item of business on today's agenda is the minutes from the prior week. Those minutes are pertaining to the meeting which was held on September 11th, 2012. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I would move for approval of the minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes. All those in favor of the minutes as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7367. This is the first reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of a tract in section 161, block 2, ABNM survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Willow Creek Drive and River Road, to moderate density district, from moderate density district to general retail district for the Dollar General retail store. This is recommended for approval by a 6-0 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there any explanation needed by the audience for this item? Any by the commission? All those who need a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 7367.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for ordinance number 7367. All those in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7363. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance adopting the City of Amarillo budget for the 2012-2013 fiscal year. This budget allows for the city to continue providing effective public services, programs, and assistance to Amarillo residents for the upcoming year. And we have specific wording to do that, is that correct? Well, that's on the next slide. Do we have a motion for that ordinance?
Yeah, Mayor, I would move that we adopt the proposed budget, which reflects an increase in revenue derived from property tax revenues over last year's budget.
I second.
Okay, normally we get comments beforehand because we didn't really have the detail. Does anybody like to make a comment on this item? Anybody on the commission? Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 7363 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7364. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance adopting the City of Amarillo tax roll, setting the ad valorem property tax rate, and levying a tax on all property subject to taxation in the city for the year 2000 within the city for the 2012 tax year. The ordinance establishes an ad valorem tax rate of 0.29276 per $100 property valuation for the city maintenance and operation expense, and 0.02733 per $100 property valuation for existing debt expenses, resulting in a total ad valorem rate of 0.32009 per $100 property valuation. Is there any discussion needed about this item by the audience or by the commission? I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, whereas the proposed tax rate exceeds the effective rate and pursuant to Texas Tax Code Section 26.05B, I now move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate, which is the same as last year, being 0.29276 for maintenance and operations and 0.02733 for debt service, for a combined total rate of 0.32009, which is effectively a 0.79% increase in the tax rate over the effective rate.
Second.
Because there are specific things in this, Mr. City Attorney, I think it's important that I read this other paragraph. Is that correct at this point? The tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate. The tax rate will effectively be raised by 0.79% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately 46 cents. Is there any discussion about ordinance number 7364 by the audience? Any by the commission? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Another section of this is ratification. City of Amarillo tax rate and budget pursuant to the terms of the Texas Local Government Code, Section 102.007C. The City Commission is required to take a separate ratification vote on the tax rate when the adopted budget requires more property tax revenue than it did the previous year's budget. Do we have any discussion from the audience about this item? Any from the commission? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, this is chewing the same meat twice.
3 times a day.
Well, actually 4. We have discussed the 2 previous items on 4 different occasions, and yet state law requires that we pass this ratification. Says we really meant to do this. So, anyway, in that light, pursuant to Texas Local Government Code, Section 102.007C, I move we ratify the budget and the tax rate as adopted, recognizing such budget will require more revenue from property taxes than did the budget adopted last year.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
All those in favor of the ratification signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7365 is the second final reading of an ordinance approving the city's participation in the Texas Municipal Retirement System, TMRS, updated service credits, and 5-year vesting program. These items help ensure that the city remains competitive in attracting and retaining quality personnel. Is there any discussion needed on this item by the audience or by the commission? Not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 7365.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 7365. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7366. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance amending Division 6, Chapter 16, Article 4 of the Amarillo Municipal Code. This ordinance enacts a ban on the use of handheld wireless devices on public streets in Amarillo. Using a wireless device through a voice-operated hands-free device is allowed by this ordinance. Is there any discussion that we'd like to have from the audience about this item? Again, I would ask, before we begin those comments, that the city attorney indicate how those comments would be made, what the proper format is, and I would also suggest that when we begin those, if someone is opposed or not, if they're in support of this item or not supportive of it, that we alternate the comments back and forth and get a fair hearing of the different comments. So, Mr. City Attorney, please.
Yes, Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are recognized by the mayor, please come to the microphone, state your name and your address. All comments are recorded. Once you have stated your address, your time will begin. You will have 3 minutes. When you have 30 seconds remaining, you will hear a 2-tone chime. When your time is expired, you will hear multiple chimes. and the city secretary will announce that their time has expired. The purpose of a public hearing is for members of the public to have the opportunity to state their viewpoint or to ask questions of their elected officials. It is not a time for you to cross-examine other persons in the audience or city staff. Please direct all of your questions and comments to the Mayor and City Commission. If you have any papers or photos for the City Commission, please hand those to the Assistant City Manager, Mr. Frigo, in the front row, and he will approach the dais. We request there be no applause or other disruption in the meeting. Civility and courtesy are expected of everyone in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. And then we begin the comments or the discussion on this if you'd like. Anyone would like to come forward, whoever would like to be first. Sir?
Mr. Friga. Just tap out something.
Welcome.
My name is Mike Fisher, and my address is 4410 Ben Kristen in Amarillo. And I'd like to just kind of point out that I think the City Commission has lost sight of where we are and who we are. If you turn around and see, it says we're the City of Amarillo in Texas. We don't mess with Texas. This isn't California. It's not New York. Are we going to ban supersized drinks next? As your boss, AKA I'm a voting citizen of this town, and I feel like this commission isn't really listening to the people here. And I've created a survey, and I did it online on September 11th. And I feel like the results of these votes have come from citizens of Amarillo. I've heard some of the commissioners say that they haven't heard anybody really oppose this. And with this survey, I asked 5 questions, and 400 people responded. And I put the link on the Amarillo Globe News news story about this on September 11th. I put it in the comments section, and we had 400 people respond approximately, and the place is called surveymonkey.com, and they monitor it. You really can't, manipulate the results. They're all unique IP addresses of people that responded to this. I really feel like it's people that probably live in Amarillo or visit Amarillo that responded to this. My question was, the Amarillo City Commissioners are in the midst of deciding to use mobile phones in the city limits. If you live or regularly drive in the city limits of Amarillo, please provide your answer to the following question. Of the 384 responses, only less than 8% support what you guys are about to pass, which is all cell phone use banned. Texting only should be banned. 64 respondents agreed with that. Texting only should be banned and only allow hands-free devices. 62 responses on that, which is 16%. No law should be passed, 19% or 75 votes. Put this on the ballot and let voters decide. 142 people are the majority of the respondents, which was 37%, and there was 11 respondents that responded with other. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else, please. Possibly someone that is in favor of the ban? If not, whoever would like to come forward. Yes, sir.
My name is Felipe C. Lopez, and I live at 3804 Northeast 24th. I think the mayor and the commission has done a good job on this particular issue. You hear all kind of figures and numbers coming from people here, and all this different things. And I know of several people that have been hurt real bad because of people on a cellular phone or texting or whatever, and some people have been killed, and They give you all kind of figures too on this. And the thing is, and they also give you figures here insofar as how much money is made through the use of cell phones and communication devices, how much is gained as far as employment and monetary value. But the thing is, do you put a price tag on human life? That's the thing. I think the mayor and the city commission has done a good job, and I think people have voiced their opinion. I've talked to a lot of people. Just coming up here, we had a person just didn't know what he's doing, not paying attention to the lights or nothing, and I hope that if you ban and pass this law, that it has some teeth in it, because people are getting killed all over the country because of this particular. You might as well put a 52-inch TV in a car today. And I imagine all you people see people drifting into your line of traffic, running lights and everything. You know, you talk about drinking and driving, that it's a responsibility. People has a right to drink as well. But they're not responsible. Neither are people that we can't control them on their cell phones. We can't control them on texting. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. My comment back, a correction. I think somehow may have been our misinformation, but the maximum fine for this, I believe, Mr. City Attorney, is $200, correct? Yes, and it's assignable by the municipal judge, so it's not predetermined that could be anything there or below. Yes, correct. Okay, just so you know. So there'll be some teeth in it, just a little bit, if it passes. Any other comments, please? We encourage these comments.
My name is Ron Nisler, 6912 0918. I'm a self-employed individual here in town. I run 3 different crews all over town. The concept of banning cell phones, I don't mind the texting cell phone ban, but when you work outside all day long, you're not in the office, it's hard to run a business when you don't have a cell phone available. If you're hauling a load, I'm a landscaper, so you haul a load of sod, we'll pull over. Well, it's hard to pull over Gooseneck in Amarillo and not get run over. But you know, you promote small businesses here in Amarillo, but the problem you run into is a lot of small businesses depend on that. And when you're talking on a cell phone nowadays with smartphones, you just push this little Sears deal, and it'll tell you it costs you that, it'll cost you that. When you're driving down the road, I drive about 30,000 miles a year all over the entire state of Texas, mostly in the Panhandle. And when you're talking on a cell phone, you're always looking forward anyway. You know, when people are talking to individuals, they turn sideways. You have just to meet a wreck sometimes to turn sideways. But I believe that to promote small businesses here in Amarillo, that it's really tough on small businesses because majority of small businesses have never at their office. I mean, they're out selling jobs, hustling. You do the drought the last couple of years, it's been tough. So, you know, we go everywhere. We go to Lubbock, we go to Gruber, we go to Common, we go to everywhere. It's hard to operate if you don't have a cell phone available to call somebody. Because, you know, if you drive across town, it doesn't work. But it's just that I think that sometimes we can get too many laws that make it kind of tough on the small business owners because it's already tough enough as it is. And I appreciate your time.
Sir, I do want to point out that we are allowing the use of cell phones in cars.
But you have to have the hand. You have
you have to have some kind of hands-free device.
Yeah.
So you can activate that and then talk through a speaker or speak through a headphone, or some of them are actually built into the cars. And I noticed there was a series of things on the net that you can hook onto your visor, somewhat like a door closer, and it activates through the phone and works for that too.
That's true. It's just another cost though too. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Bottom line, it's just another cost. And also, you know, you see people with those Bluetooths in their, you know, somewhere. You're talking on them. You know, I mean, they walk around talking on them. You know, they're talking to you or they're talking to somebody else, and that's sometimes kind of rude too. Also.
Sure it is.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Emily, I don't know what Emily Post would say about cell phone use. I'm not sure. Anyone else, please?
Mayor, there have been some very subtle modifications by the city attorney in discussions from previous meeting. I don't have my 2 copies side by side. Could you ask the city attorney to just discuss the minor changes from this week to last?
Ma'am, would you mind waiting for just a minute? You're welcome to stay there for just a second if you'd like. We made some minor tweaks from the comments that were made last week to address those. And they basically, from my view, dealt primarily with how you activate and deactivate the phone so it was more defined. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, Mayor, between the first and second reading, the version before you today, the definition of hands-free has been clarified. It could be a speakerphone. Everyone speaks about Bluetooth, and that's fine. That qualifies as a hand-free device. But also acknowledge, for example, the gentleman had his phone at Mr. Nitzler, that if you can lay down the console and just use the speakerphone, that would also satisfy the ordinance. The ordinance definition was slightly modified to acknowledge that many hand-free systems, or what we refer to as hand-free, actually require pushing a button somewhere, perhaps a couple of buttons. And so it allows an operator of a vehicle to press necessary buttons in order to activate that hands-free or speakerphone. And then in a couple of other sections, we have carried through that same, to be consistent with other sections. We also, this is very minor, but should point it out, in the recitals of the ordinance, from the very first draft, it is acknowledged that the federal government itself has banned the use of handheld wireless communication devices by large commercial vehicle drivers, federal employees. We had actually it was an error. Well, it depends on what point in history you were considering. It used to say the Texas legislature has failed to pass a statewide ordinance. Well, the reality is they did pass a statute last session, and the governor vetoed it. And so we've corrected that to indicate that the legislature itself found that it would be good public policy in the state of Texas to have a statewide ban, but the governor disagreed. You're certainly not plowing new ground if you choose to go this direction. There is support at other levels of government, and certainly other Texas cities have done the same thing if you choose to go this way.
Thank you. Thank you for the comments.
Trina Fournier, 4427 South Hayden. I don't know where to begin. There was a gentleman that was already up here that stated that he didn't feel like the City Commission was listening to citizens who voiced opposition to this ordinance. I have been following this since last year when the Traffic Commission first spoke about it, and I spoke at that Traffic Commission meeting. I was the only one who did so, and I spoke in opposition. At the Traffic Commission meetings, more people, by a good margin, spoke out against the ban rather than in favor of it. I've heard this commission laud the efforts of the Traffic Commission in looking at all of this, how many studies they read, and their diligence. I do not feel that that is justified. I have followed this. I went to Traffic Commission meetings. The ones I did not attend, I watched the videos that George put up online. From the very first time it was before them, those traffic commissioners were determined to have an ordinance. There were a few members especially determined that when this commission sent it back to them, and the first meeting that they had after that, there was a lot of resistance, even hostility toward the traffic engineer for trying to get them to look at this evidence. They did not want to listen. They did not want to consider it objectively. It was their determination, before they ever looked at a single study, to have it. When it first came back to y'all, after the Traffic Commission had voted, DJ Stevens was at that meeting, and I believe Alan was the one who asked her if they had looked at studies. She lied to you, flat out lied. They didn't look at any studies. She lied to you. They had looked at a bullet sheet that they printed off at the NHTSA's website. A bullet sheet that had a lot of hyperbolic and very scary sounding evidence. It's just statistics that were skewed. I've said it before and I will say it again. Cell phone use while driving only accounts for less than 2% of fatalities on the road. 2%. Banning this isn't going to change anything. It's not going to make us safer. It's just going to give more power to the government, more money. costing, especially poor people who can't afford those Bluetooths or a smartphone. They can't afford it. And those are the people that are going to be hurt by it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in support that would like to speak at this point? Please, sir.
I have a name similar to you, Mayor. I'm Paul Harwood.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm at 5601 Bell. I'm in full support of the commission. I think this is great. I've had 2 near-miss accidents. Both of them were my fault. And both of them, I was on the cell phone talking to somebody, and it really wasn't that necessary. I think that's true of most cell phone calls. There are some business calls that are necessary, but a lot of these people are out there talking about the soccer game tonight or about volleyball tomorrow night or something totally unnecessary to be making up driving space and talking at the same time. So I back you guys 100%. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the comment, sir. And someone else then, please.
Point of information. Which revision are we addressing today of the ordinance?
Final revision.
Which is revision number 4.
The final revision. It's in front of us.
Mary has the date 9/18/12 in the upper left-hand corner.
Okay.
It should have some yellow crimson on the second page, yellow highlighter.
I'll check and thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Sir, would you mind identifying yourself and giving your address, please?
Yes, Robert.
I know you've been here many times, but I would like you to begin by giving your address and your name, please.
Yes, Robert Tolliver, 4400 Southwest 3rd Avenue.
Thank you very much. It's important for the record.
Oh, very much so, very much so. I'm here to reinforce what several people have said, that the commission is not listening to the public and not looking at the data to make their decision, of which is completely contrary to what the commission has agreed to do, is look at the facts, and the facts make the determined answer. I'm very disappointed, very disappointed. I have provided you with statistics from the state of Texas. I have provided you with statistics and known data, not just from the state of Texas, but also the city of Amarillo. Everything indicates that this is an unnecessary ordinance. Cell phone in the state of Texas as a cause factor in accident ranks 25th. The information given on these reports, the crash factors, as well as the age driver crashes, are from the drivers at the accident site. Because sometimes there is not a block to check for is a cell phone used, is a cell phone present, etc., etc. The city of Amarillo does not have such a box, and I've recommended that they have one. Pedestrians, bicyclists, and motor conveyance individuals have failed to yield the right-of-way to a vehicle. The resulting fatalities, 171. It's 31st on the list. Cell phone use, 11 fatalities. And the total number of wrecks in the state of Texas, cell phone use is 0.55% of 1%. And studies have shown there's no difference between handheld and hands-free devices. The city of Amarillo has had a 55% decrease in related fatalities from 2005 to 2011. A decline in fatalities of 33.5% occurred from 2010-2001, where we have had an increase of 38,000 vehicles on the road. Oh, shoot.
Sir, your time is up. Please take your seat. Thank you.
Well, it says 9. Thank you.
Any other commenters, please?
I'm Letitia Goodrich, 6510 Sandy Drive, a resident of this city, have been for a long time. It seems to me, Mayor and Commissioners, realize that this is a very, very controversial subject, event, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just wondering if maybe you could consider having this a public referendum. We've done that with smoking bans, and the ban even failed a couple of times, but we have been able to have that happen. And I think sometimes it just takes a little time for people to think about these things and to come to grips with them. I have mixed feelings, emotions about this myself, and I must say that using the hands-free and allowing us to use the speakerphones makes a lot of difference to me. But I know it doesn't make that much difference to some people. So maybe a referendum would be a good deal in this occasion for this particular subject matter.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other comments?
Good evening. Greg Pride, Now 5 Jefferson. I come to see about folks from out of town, folks for the cell phone. I'm for stopping texting, which is understanding. But the cell phone for folks out of town, I'm a pastor in town here in Amarillo. And lots of people who come to my church don't know how to get there. So they have a cell phone, they talk. I kind of walk them to my address. And so I figured I'll come see how you would do about that, about the cell phone situation, about the people coming into the church and see if you know can use cell phones in how to get to the church or how someone from out of town get through Amarillo. You know, sometimes going to some different location, trying to find out how to get there and don't quite know how to get there, and they have to call them cell phone and see what direction they take. So, but first texting, I understand that because that needs to be stopped. Thank you.
Thank you. I would suggest that, good questions. I think that the hands-free device allows for a lot of that. It's adapted to a hands-free device. And I think that we know that we will definitely put a lot of signs up around the city as people come to town so they'll be warned about this and throughout the city. We want people to know that it's a concern. And the ability to pull over to the side of the road and get directions is still available. The ability to pull over to the side of the road and input an address in your GPS. You know, in many cars it won't operate where you put in an address, the detail if you're over 2 to 5 miles an hour depending on the car. With AT&T's device that you put on phones, they can do that, but we're asking the people to pull over to input information, which they can do and talk to you and write down notes and still be able to get there. We certainly are not banning the use of cell phones in cars. We're not doing that. It's not part of the ordinance. Other comments, please. Sir, please come forward.
You got somebody that's for it? Because it's evidence.
Well, I might comment on that. You did hear comments that we didn't listen or didn't read the data, that we did not hear. And I actually had one lady come up that did one of these non-scientific surveys, as the other one today was non-scientific. And I think she had 700 respondents that said to ban it over a weekend.
Something close to that number, yes.
And then I have kept track of comments that I've received. And I suggested, you know, maybe we consider a referendum item. It wasn't picked up by the commission. And I still voted to do it, to ban it last week. And I did that because I absolutely believe it would pass a referendum. And there is still the ability for somebody to get a petition and have a referendum. There's no problem with people doing that if they want to. But
can you all do it? Can you all set it up as a referendum just without having a petition?
Yes. We could. We didn't choose to. Correct.
Is my time started?
Not yet.
Thanks.
When you give your name and address, and we'll push that button.
Punch a button. Oh, my name's James Skank. I'm 4216 Summit here in town. You know, we really live in amazing times to even be talking about this situation where we've had these kind of communication devices. I've had one in my car since they came out. You know, the first ones that came out, you can mount them and do all that kind of thing. And I've never really felt of any danger to anybody doing anything. I don't text. I can understand the texting thing. did you say that the thing was changed to where you could use a wire and actually touch and tap your phone? You're all changing that part of it, or does it have to be some sort of-
We're defining the limit to that. Mr. City Attorney, could you go back over that for the gentleman?
It simply says now that it acknowledges that you may press.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
It says that you may press necessary buttons in order to initiate, answer, or terminate a telephone call.
Okay, that didn't say that in this, though, that we have.
That's correct, that's why we're pointing out that
Okay.
that change has come up.
Well, that's a big change.
Yes, it is.
Because, you know, the way you were talking about it in the paper and stuff is if you see somebody touching their phone, that they are in violation. And so, anyway, an interesting part that I'd like to bring up is how many people have these nowadays as they're running around. That has gone up like crazy. You have to realize that accidents have actually been coming down, especially fatalities, because of the shape of the cars we have. You know, you have the ability to be rather protected now. Does that clarify some vendors or some serious situations that have gone on from other distractions? As the one gentleman pointed out, you know, cell phone use, actually talking on the phone, ranks sort of down the line. You know, sort of like, excuse me, if y'all don't shut up back here, I'm going to, you know, and I've got a burrito up to my ear or something, you know, that might make officers pull me over. I'm of the opinion that this is going to throw our police officers into a big conundrum, as well as the privacy of citizens. Because if all of a sudden I was just doing like this and it looked like I was on my cell phone, which by the way I always use a wire, that he would have the authority to pull me over. Ow! You got to step back from that some, because I've got 53 more seconds. Anyway, I think you need to consider a referendum. That would be an interesting poll. You know, that would be an interesting vote. I don't know if you could actually do it this November 6th. We've got a lot of other things going on, but
Too short a time to even consider one.
well, yellow light, 30 seconds. The part about actually touching your phone, that relieves me some, because I've always done it this way, and I try to travel safely. And I am, like the gentleman, I'm in business, I travel around, I'm going to appointments, I'm doing things constantly. And the phone has been a big part of that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. You even had 4 seconds left. Thank you. Commissioner Eads would like to comment. We'll take other comments here in a minute. Commissioner.
I've been fascinated by the conversation back and forth with Betsy. There's one thing, in fact, in response to some of the points that have been made, the document has been modified. I think fundamentally this is a public health and safety issue. I think we all know that this is something that's being abused in our community, as have 20 other cities in the state. Normally I'm a big research guy, and we argue about those kind of things all the time. But I think you've got to question whether your research is accurate. And I think, Chief Taylor, if I had an accident today and you pull me over and I run into somebody and you say, what were you doing? I'm not going to say to you, Chief, well, I was texting to my wife about what she's making for dinner tonight. I mean, I don't think when you query the person who's involved in the accident, they're going to fess up that indeed they were texting or exactly what they were doing. You do not have an accurate presentation of the percentage of people that are causing accidents because of their cell phone activities. I just don't believe that. I think what we see with our eyes in the community is much more likely to be the case. I was a little disturbed by one statement that stated that a member of our traffic commission lied in the process of this. I think that we don't all live in a vacuum. I think the people on that traffic commission had seen studies long before this was handed to them. So to say that because that they had not seen the documents that had been presented at that time, that they had not reviewed the data and therefore they had lied, I think that's really a little beyond the pale. It's curious when individuals, I think, say that we're not listening. There's been a pattern in my 5 years on this commission that there are times where if we don't agree with an individual speaking, that we're not listening. We're listening. listening, we're just listening to other people too. And so we are listening, and we've changed our document. I think for an individual who would say that the police are going to invade privacy, I respect that. But that's why we have judges, and that's why we have a municipal court. And if you have a pressing issue that you feel the judge ought to hear, the judges every day take traffic citations, as the chief can attest, and set those aside. And we would invite any person who is cited for a violation to do that. That's what the system's for. And once again, not to take more than my 3 minutes, Mayor, I want to thank the Traffic Commission for their work, striven broadly to empower our boards and commissions. And they took the charge that was given to them, they did yeoman's work, and I want to specifically point out their members here today. I appreciate the activity that you've undertaken here. Thank you.
Well, I might take time to comment too, that I take exception with somebody calling one of our traffic commissions a liar. I think it's a broad statement that is absolutely wrong. Those people studied the books that were very thick, studied the data. The data points every direction. None of it is lined up in a row. And I also question somebody in their statement, 3 minutes, making a statement that says, we're not collecting data, and the data is no good, but then they quote the data saying there's not many accidents. I don't understand that. I can't get beyond that one. And so I sort of discount that comment to a degree. The police will act like our police do in every effort professionally. The police will not indiscriminately pull somebody over. Police will act. And I don't think there's a soul here that hasn't seen somebody in the last 24 hours like this with a cell phone now. Understand, if you're going to activate some buttons, we put language in there. The police aren't going to try and deal with that. It's somebody like this. Or if somebody's down the road texting. We've seen it. They don't go at a green light. They sit there texting when a green light goes. And I think then they'll have an obvious reason to do it. They are not going to be looking for things that are unenforceable, things that will get thrown out of court easily. There is another part to this law that I think is significant, and I'd like to make it public. If you have an accident, cause injury, or cause damage, and you've broken a law in the process, there's much higher civil penalties for that. So that is a part of what we're trying to say in the public, that you need to pay attention to this law, whether you're caught by the police or not. If you're at risk driving and you have an accident, and we know that has happened, maybe we don't know the exact number, but if you have an accident and they pull your phone records and you've broken a law and caused injury or caused property damage, the civil penalties will be much higher. Am I correct, Mr. City Attorney?
Well, the penalties may not be higher, Mayor, but the exposure, it'll be easier for that plaintiff to prove their liability.
Okay.
It's just called negligence per se.
And you know, most people here are responsible. I believe most people will follow the law, although we've had some people that have inquired here and threatened that they would not follow it one bit. And I say to them, shame on them for saying, I will not follow the law. I just say shame on you. We have evidence that there has been a lot of tragedies. And if the citizens wish to put this up for referendum, you get a petition signed, you put up a referendum. I voted for it very easily last week because I did listen. And I believe that about 65% of the people that I listened to said ban them. And I've actually had many people in the last week say to me, would you please ban this so I'll quit doing this? I've got to quit doing this. Would you please ban it so I just stop it? My wife tells me not to do it in the car, and I keep doing it. Now, if I got the law, I'll quit it. I don't know what makes people move, but I think it's important, the level of discussion we've had for the last few months, and I congratulate the Traffic Commission on the things they brought up to debate and discern this, and I congratulate all the people that came here. Many people have never come before a commission before, and so it is important that you come. That's part of why we read these proclamations today about the Constitution. That's what we are, and I think once it's finished, we respect what's been done, and I think that's what will happen no matter what the vote is. So I suggest that we are people that obey the law in most cases. Sometimes we forget, but we are reminded very easily by our pocketbook and by other people that we might offend, taking us to task for something. If you have an accident and somebody sues you or your insurance company, the insurance company is not going to be real happy with it afterwards. So
At any rate, it is important. We don't take it lightly. We listened through how many meetings? Including the ones before we went to the Traffic Commission with it? At least 4, probably more. We paid attention to what the Traffic Commission gave back to us. Certainly, I take exception with saying we didn't read the data, or that a traffic commissioner lied and didn't read it. Certainly, you don't have the ability to know what they read or didn't read. You don't know if they did it in their home at night. That's where I read a lot of mine. We do a lot of homework away from just in our office here. So I really take exception to calling one of our commissioners a liar, and I think they would be doing an apology. But that's up to the individual making that kind of an accusation. I doubt I'll get one, or that they will get one. Any other comments, please? Any comments at all? Yes, ma'am, please.
Mayor, City Commission, I'm Barbara Latham, 7 Tascocita Circle, Amarillo, 1/4 mile outside the city limits. May 24, 2006, 11:25 a.m. I was going down 45th to turn on Coulter to pre-register for cancer lung surgery. The traffic was light. My daughter was in the car. I glanced in my rearview mirror, and a red car was just coming hard. And I kept looking in the mirror because I was almost stopped. She was on her cell phone, looking out at McDonald Lake. Hit me. I was taken to the emergency room. It broke cartilage in my nose from my glasses hit here, and nerve damage through the left side of my face. I still have nerve damage when I put my head on a pillow at night. I have to be careful. It was good I had a large car. After the accident, I wanted a Hummer. But I suffered more with the facial injury than I did the lung surgery. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor?
Certainly.
Can I just say that, democracy is certainly not perfect. It's the system we have. And and it's awful messy. And, so this is a great example of what it's all about and what it means to be a community, and to talk about what we're for and what we're against, and our different ideas. And so this decision hasn't been easy. It's not easy for any of us. We're just trying to balance my right to be able to read an email and text while I'm driving a car with your right to be safe from the big machine that I'm driving. And that's how I look at it. A lot of people here today have talked about their personal rights, and I just see it as everybody on the road has a right to be safe.
Any other comments from the audience? We welcome those. Any comments from the commission? Sir, I would ask you if you're acting as a member of the press or as a personal visit to the podium.
Can't divide it. It's personal.
Just so I know.
Okay. George Schwartz, 1611 South Travis. In the 6 years that I've run the Indy, I don't think I've ever come and spoken to you publicly, but I've spoken to many of you privately about this, and I've written about it. I've made my position clear. And I've also made my position over the last 6 years clear that speaking truth to power is probably one of the most difficult things we do in a democracy. Mrs. Fournier spoke truth to power, and power attacked her. I will tell you, because I videoed your work sessions, and I videoed the Traffic Commission's meetings that discussed some of these issues. In particular, the meetings that you asked the Traffic Commission to hold public hearings over this matter. And in the 2 public hearings over this matter, the majority of the people who spoke to the Traffic Commission opposed banning the use of cell phones for speaking. I don't think there is anybody who ever supported texting while driving. But in total fairness, if you go back to those traffic commission videos, and then you go back to the videos of your work sessions where the chairwoman of the traffic commission represented to you what occurred at the traffic commission, she did not fairly and adequately represent what occurred. Period. Now, I'm not going to debate the studies, that's been beat to death. But I will tell you that last year when you debated your health plan, you insisted that the plan be considered in the context of the original RFP. All I'm asking you to do is to recognize that you issued an RFP asking the Traffic Commission for advice, and their response to your RFP was flawed. But when you attacked Mrs. Fournier, as you did, it was unfair. She was perfectly accurate to characterize that the hearings of the Traffic Commission were misrepresented to you. Thank you.
Any other comments? For the record, the tally for our hearing so far has been 27 comments for, 20 against. And that represents people that came here over the last 4 weeks, correct? Okay. But we have other tallies from other emails and other things, and I still believe that my number is about 65% in favor. So just so you know, that's what I've tallied from all the input I've gotten. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I would move to approve ordinance number 7366.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of,
May I comment now?
so excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to wait till the motion was made, because I'm going to be speaking against the motion, or voting against the motion. I've stated this before, I'm a simple guy. I think that texting is a no-brainer. That needs to be totally done away with, and I don't think a $200 fine is adequate for someone who's caught texting, because that's just a suicide mission to text and drive. The cell phone part of this, whether it's hand-free, Bluetooth, cordless, I mean, all these different things that are far beyond a simple old guy like myself, I don't understand that. I know without any kind of a survey or a vote that as you drive around town, the use of cell phones is part of people's life today. I mean, that cell phone is an extension of their right hand. And I think that, here again, that we should, now I think that this commission owes a huge, huge responsibility for education, regardless of how this vote comes out. And that we have a responsibility to educate the public on what this, if this ordinance is passed, what this ordinance says, and then how dangerous it is to drive and use a cell phone, whether you get caught or don't. So, just stating, I'm going to be voting against the motion.
And Mr. Commissioner, we all understand that we're not banning the use of cell phones in cars.
I understand.
Okay, and we also understand that you don't use your phone in your car, correct?
I do not.
You don't? Okay. All right, any other comments? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Passes with a 4-1 vote. Appointments to boards and commissions. There are appointments needed to the following boards: the Amarillo Health Facility Corporation, Colonies Public Improvement District Advisory Board, Quail Creek Public Improvement District, Tiers No. 1 Board of Directors, Tutbury Public Improvement District Advisory Board. Are there any nominations for these positions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. On the Amarillo Health Facilities Corporation, Mr. Ed Flood would have completed his a 3-year term this coming April. Mr. Flood is deceased, and so with condolences to the Flood family, and also thanks for his almost 30 years of service, I would like to appoint in his place Muriel Barnes. And on the Colonies Public Improvement District Advisory Board, reappoint for another 3-year term the following people: Lou Bradshaw, Craig Bryan, and Eric White. And on the Quail Creek Public Improvement District, I'd like to reappoint Ricky Culp and Jim Lingenville. On the Tiers Board of Directors, in place of John Ben Blanchard, and thanks for his service, I'd like to appoint AISD's nominee, Annette Carlisle, and Amarillo Independent School District nominee, Annette Carlisle. And then Tutbury Public Improvement District Advisory Board, I'd like to reappoint Larry Orman and Nelda Morton to another term. And in place of Kathy Bailey, again, thanks for her service, I would like to replace Ms. Bailey with Richard Dick Weddington.
Okay, do we have a second to these nominations? They're actually not, we'll appoint in just a second, but those nominations. Any discussion about those from the audience? Any from the commission? All those in favor of the appointments as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Resolution, approval of tax increment reinvestment zone number 1, tiers number 1, 2012-2013 budget. This resolution approves the 2012-2013 tax increment reinvestment zone number 1 budget. The tiers number 1 is a cooperative effort of various governmental entities, and it was created in 2006 to facilitate the revitalization of downtown Amarillo and financially assist in the implementation of downtown Amarillo strategic action plan. The budget has been recommended for approval by the tiers number 1 board of directors. Is there any discussion needed on this item? We have the chairman for the tiers board, Mr. Richard Brown, here. Would you like to make any comment, Mr. Brown?
I believe the budget has been thoroughly considered and the commission is familiar with it. I would just like to state for the benefit of the public that we're happy to report that the tax increment income of the tiers is going up from $500,000 to about $600,000 this year, which I think is saying that the revitalization of downtown is making progress. And so to the extent that downtown can continue to pay for downtown, we'd urge you to approve this budget.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Now, we understand that this is the only tier zone in Texas last year that increased in value, and this year there were few, but we again increased in value. Is that correct?
Sir, it's Amarillo, Texas. I know you expect nothing less.
That's right. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your service for so many years.
Mr. Mayor, I would move for approval of the tax increment reinvestment zone budget.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second for the tier zone number 1 budget. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Resolution approval of Amarillo Convention and Visitors Council 2012-2013 budget. This resolution approves the 2012-2013 Amarillo Convention and Visitors Council budget with funding for hotel and motel occupancy tax revenue collected within the city. The Amarillo Convention and Visitors Council performs tourism, convention, and cultural events, promotions, and recruitment efforts for the city. We have some representatives from the Chamber and the Convention and Visitors. Would you like to make any comment? Okay. Any questions from the audience about this item? Any from the commission? Not entertain a motion?
I move that we approve the resolution for the approval of Amarillo Convention and Visitor Council 2012-2013 budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Council budget for 2012-2013. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Resolution approval of the 2012-2013 Amarillo Potter Event Venue District budget. The resolution approves the 2012-2013 budget of the Amarillo Potter Event Venue District.
The budget is funded through a 5% car rental tax and a 2% hotel occupancy tax. The Amarillo Potter Event Venue District operates and maintains voter-approved entertainment venues within the city. The budget is recommended for approval by the Amarillo Potter Event Venue District Board. If there's any comments or discussion needed by the audience about this item? By the commission? If not, we entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve the Amarillo Potter Event Venue District budget for 2012-2013.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the Amarillo Potter Event Venue District budget for 2012-2013 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Consent agenda. It's recommended the following items be approved: that the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for each transaction. The purchase of Amarillo signal equipment and accessories. B, the acceptance of tuberculosis prevention and control grant. C, the award of a 12-inch water main installation project. D, the award of a well field electrical service improvement contract. E is the award of a 12-inch water main extension project. F is the award of professional design services hangar 3000 roof repair. G is the award of airport non-exclusive rental car concession agreement. Are there any items that need to be removed for separate consideration by the commission? Not. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion needed about the consent agenda? All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Public forum includes the regularly scheduled agenda of the Amarillo City Commission. We will go into executive session after this. However, it's customary at this time for us to allow citizens with comments regarding public policies, programs, or services to speak to the commission. And the floor is now open for such comments. If anyone would like to come forward, this would be a good time. Thank you.
Afternoon. My name is Kenneth Graham. I reside at 3007 Harmony Street. I'd like to offer a personal thank you to the City Commission, Mayor Harpole, for your decision today to approve Ordinance 7366. Also conveying a message from DJ Steuben of her appreciation as well. DJ's sick today, or else I know she'd be here. Through the many, many meetings we've had on the topic of use of...
Mr. Graham, actually with this having been an agenda item, we can't allow public comment outside the agenda item. And I apologize, but we really have to cut off that discussion at this point. Is that correct, Mr. City Attorney?
It is the perfect forum that we discuss things not on today's agenda. If it was an agenda-related item, we shouldn't have brought it during the agenda.
When you first were commenting about after the fact, I felt it wasn't, but I think it really should be something we ask you to come back another week and comment.
Fair enough.
I apologize that it is out of order at this point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment at this time? Yes, please come forward. Welcome, how are you?
Hello. My name is Beatrice Johnson. I want to talk to y'all about a shooting that happened a couple of weeks ago. And the person that got shot was my nephew, Prince. And this is why I'm here. First of all, there is a place called The Legend. This is how I feel about it. Prince was the last one that got shot. There's like been 3 shootings at The Legend. And for some reason or another, I don't understand why city commissioner, y'all won't close it down. All that's gonna happen is people are gonna continue to be hurt down there. Now, let's get back to Prince. Right now, I am very unhappy because the police chief, and anytime he wished to meet with me, I'm saying this on that, he can meet with me. He's not willing to do a complete investigation into the Prince being shot because of who Prince's father is. Can I tell you something? And this is how I feel. You do not judge me on who my parents are. You judge me on my character. And that comes from the Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm telling you, it's Princess Amy. I want this scene about, I want him to look into the shooting with Prince. I have a picture of the guy that shot Prince, and they won't even investigate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll refer this to our city manager who will talk to the police chief about it.
And I have a picture.
Okay. Mr. City Manager, would you help them with that afterwards?
We'll follow up with that, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments, please? If not, we'll adjourn back to executive session. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.